And then you can also specify the background color and the background image for a particular block. So if you remember, clear up here at the top, there was the background, and this again was for the entire layout manager. This would be the background image or color for all the blocks within the layout manager. This allows us to specify an individual color and image behind this particular block within the layout manager. So if you wanted to have a black background behind this block 1, a white one behind block 2, and a yellow one behind block 3, you could change each one of these background colors or images behind each of these individual blocks and so on. And then moving on down here to some more block options is our border size, space between blocks, and padding within blocks. And this is a feature that is commonly confused with some of the previous ones with borders and padding and so on. But what this feature is, this is for the individual blocks within the layout manager. You can actually specify a border size for all the blocks within the layout manager. You can also specify the space between all of the blocks within within the layout manager. And essentially this is used so that if you have several blocks within a layout manager but they run onto each other, different things like that, you can actually separate them by just entering in a number here in pixels to separate those a little bit. Same thing with padding within blocks. Similar to what we showed you here with padding. Again, padding is between the content and the border of that block. And this we were using as a layout manager, but you could use this for any type of block, like a title block. If this was our actual text within our title block, and we wanted to specify padding between the top, left, right, and bottom part of this text and in between the block border, we could do that within the layout manager by saying we would like padding within the blocks to be a certain size in pixels.
Hey Taylor, can I just make a note here? One of the things that I see that I think looks very unprofessional in websites is if text is actually touching a border. And so I think that it's very important to use that padding to keep the text away from the borders, because you just need a little space in there, and it makes all the difference in the world to make the site look professional.
That's correct. And I'm sure all of us have seen websites that the text runs right onto the border. It's hard to read, and it doesn't allow us to see where one thing starts and one thing ends. So using padding is a very wise thing to do if you have a lot of text or if you're using it for layout purposes for your website. For text purposes, I think I've seen anywhere from 5 to 15 pixels for padding, and it just makes it set itself apart from the design or the layout, and it makes it look very, very appeasing to the eye and very easy to read. So these are things to think about when you're designing and building your website, is how well your website is designed and pleasing to the eye, because again, in marketing, people are going to go to your website, and if they're immediately offended or they don't like the website, they're going to leave. But if the website is pleasing to the eye and it's comfortable for them and they can read everything pretty clearly and they understand it and things like that, this is one of those things that will help you keep them as loyal visitors and maybe even turn them into customers. And so these are important things to remember. And the Layout Manager is the key tool in helping you build and design and lay out your website exactly the way you would want it laid out and to look. So the very last things we're going to cover here for the Layout Manager is the CSS class section. And really this is for advanced users, but this allows advanced users to assign this layout to a CSS. And if you're not sure what CSS is, it stands for Cascading Style Sheets. And Cascading Style Sheets really doesn't even explain really what it is, and so it's sometimes the full name is even just as confusing. But really all this does is it allows you to use another file to control the behavior and the color and the font and all the different kind of controls that you would want to use more advanced than what this block can handle or do by itself. it allows you to specify the class of that particular file and use that. So again, this is for more advanced users that want to do a bit more than what this block provides. And if you have any questions about that, or if you're not sure if this is something you need, or if you want to learn how to do this, you can always give our technical support a call, and they'll kind of show you maybe some examples or how to use it or what it's for, different things like that. And the last thing is the insert blank line, and this is really just a convenience tool. If you've ever been in Page Builder adding in blocks, sometimes you have to add in what's called spacer blocks to separate your blocks, give them some space. Again, as Bruce mentioned earlier, it can really make a website not look very well if things run onto each other or they're right on the border and different things like that. This insert blank line takes the extra work of having to add in another block onto your page to just insert some space below this Layout Manager block and maybe the block below it. And so again, it just adds in space for you. It's a quick, time-saving, convenient tool that we've integrated into the Layout Manager to add in space below this Layout Manager block. And this covers all of the different block options for the Layout Manager block. And so we're just going to go ahead and go back now to our main screen here in Page Builder, where we've got our 3 blocks here. And now we're actually going to cover nested layout managers. This is something that I've mentioned earlier so far in the webinar a few times. And what nested layout managers are, again, they are blocks within other blocks. Probably the best way to explain this is nested layout manager blocks allows you to put one block or one manager block inside one another, and the main goal of this is to have either a column that is split into rows or a row that is split into columns. Instead of just having all one column or all one row, you can actually split them up within each of the layout manager blocks. And this allows you to achieve a higher level of flexibility with designing your website. Because as you can see here again, we've got one layout manager block with 3 blocks in it, and we can design a good looking website using this same structure, and we could probably add in some more blocks here, and we could probably add in another layout manager block and keep going with the same thing. Maybe for a photography website, maybe they would have columns of photographs and rows of photographs, and they might have one right after the other and so on. But for most conventional websites, this may not be very useful. So we're going to show you how to create nested layout manager blocks now. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to create a new layout manager block, and we're simply going to click this little green plus sign here on block 1 again, and we're just going to scroll down all the way at the very bottom where our layout manager is located, and we're going to select that, and we're actually going to add this after, and you can see here on this drop down list now, Start Layout is the layout manager, and then it has the 3 blocks in it, 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3, and then our one end layout. And so everything that's within this layout here is numbered, starting with 1 and so on. And we're going to add this right after our end layout, meaning we don't want this new layout manager within the previous layout manager. We're just going to click Next Step. And in this situation here, we're just going to actually create columns. So we're just going to go and select columns and just click Submit. And now we're going to add in some blocks within this layout manager. And so we're going to click this green plus sign again, and we're just going to click Title, and we're going to number this number 1, and we're going to come into the font color size and just change this font to a larger font and submit this block. And you can see here I'm actually flowing or moving pretty quickly through the tools. It's very easy. This is one of the great things about Easy Page Builder, is you can add things and set things up very easily, and I can just quickly edit a type of a block and add things in, and it's very nice. It's one of the nicest things that we have. And so now that I've added in this this first title block here, it's numbered 2.1. So again, it follows the same numbering structure. This is the first block within block 2. And now I'm going to add another block in here. And I'm just going to click on this green plus sign here. And I'm going to scroll down, and I'm actually going to select another layout manager. And again, this is our definition of layout managers or nested layout managers, is you can place one layout manager within another layout manager. And there's really no limit to that, but later on we're going to discuss cautions of using too many layout managers. And we're just going to go ahead and select after this title block 2.1 and click Next Step. And this time we're going to select rows, and then we're just going to go ahead and submit this block at the very bottom. So now we have our layout manager number 2. We have our first block 2.1, which is our title block numbered 1. And now we've got our layout manager block, which again has nothing in it, and it's to the right of this title block because we've set this layout manager in columns. We're now going to edit this block 2.2, or sorry, we're not going to edit, we're going to add a new block into it. So we're going to add, by clicking in this green plus sign, we're going to add in a title block, and we're going to add it in after 2.2 start layout, which means we're adding it inside this second layout within this first layout here, 2.2, and we're just going to select after start layout and click Next Step, and we're going to number this 2, and we're just going to change our font size here to be a little larger for us to read this a little better, and add it to this page.